Here we go. Because I love it when I do that. I do a whole thing and then I have to come back and redo it. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate being here today. We are going to get into our next section. So in the previous sections, we have gone through introduction, importance of strength training. So I'm going to quickly go through these because we've already covered these. So if you are not familiar with these yet, they are posted in the modules, and I've actually set them up in different sections now too. So hopefully they're easier to find. They're also in the actual first module that has all the resources. And I've been having a lot of fun creating more guides. So I will be actually adding to those resources as we go along, because sometimes you just need like one little section. Also, thank you for anybody who responded in the Facebook group to the poll that I put up. I did look at that and I'm working on a guide for that. Seems like the biggest struggle that people are having is with like actually finding time in their week. Sorry, I know I'm going through these quickly. But like I said, they're back in the other ones. Finding time in the week to have a consistent exercise schedule. So that is something that I'm working on putting together. We talked about nutrition last time. And all of these can be separate little guides to kind of help you guys. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about cardio timing. And so within this whole presentation too, I talk a lot about when's the best time to do this or that. Honestly, the best time is when you're going to get it done, right? So cardio is no different. So there's ideal times and then there's just realistic, whatever it's going to be for your body. So how does this play in with strength training? What's the relationship? Does it take away from it? There's a lot of information out there about, it depends on how much cardio you're doing, could be detrimental to strength, but at the same time, it also can really complement strength training. It's good for overall cardiovascular health. So it is definitely something that is part of a balanced exercise routine. And sometimes it can just be a nice mental deload as well, or physical deload, just to do some like steady state cardio. I've been doing that a lot this last week, and I'm gonna start hitting it again strong next week. But it can be, that's like our baseline, right? We start with just start walking. Just any kind of movement is better than nothing. But then as we progress, we want to start incorporating some different types of, strength training and cardiovascular training. So the relationship between strength training and cardio. So it optimizes your overall fitness. It promotes fat loss, contributes to cardiovascular health, and decreased risk of mortality and morbidity. So according to the American Heart Association, I don't know if I have the exact numbers in here. No. So you want to get, about 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise 5 days a week at minimum. And if you're not there yet, you work up there slowly. It depends on where you're coming from. Some of my clients are just, they have a lot of other health concerns going on. And so their path is going to be different. It's going to look very different. Everyone's path looks different. Don't ever compare yourself to anybody else. Only compare yourself to yourself, because that's really the only reasonable person you have to compare yourself to. And even as we get older, these things will change. You can't do in your 20s what you can do in your 40s, what you can do in your 60s, right? So having realistic expectations, and making sure that you're setting yourself up for success. So going slow, gradually working up. And then when you get to that point, there gets to a point where you don't want to be just, basically on the whole treadmill thing where, you're not really progressing. Definitely want to make sure that you're making progress and pushing yourself, but you have to be set up for success to do that. So we can't just right off the riff, oh, this is what I used to do 5, 10 years ago. I'm just going to do that. It's not going to work. You can't go that hard that quickly. Your body isn't used to that. And as we get older, we need to take that into account. We need more recovery as we get older. We need more sleep. We need longer, sessions between training. And it also depends on how long you've been training. So if you have been, consistent for 5 years, up until then, guess what? You're still a newbie. But 5 years of consistency, then you're starting to become more advanced, and then you could be training more often. But also, as you get older, you also probably want to pull back on how frequently, because you do need more recovery. So there's a lot of things to take into account, and it's very customized to the person, to their current life status, to their current situation, to the stress that's around them. Because if you can't recover from your training, you're doing too much cardio, um, in addition to you're not getting enough sleep, your diet's poor, you're not hydrating, your life is stressful, you're not going to be getting the benefits from that. So it has to be a whole program that we're working around that will get you to where you want to be. So we're going to talk about the ideal timing for cardio, because everyone always wants to know, like, when should I do my cardio? Um, I don't ever advise that people start, like, I have some people that are like, oh, I start my strength training session with 20 minutes of cardio before I even, like, that's my warm up. And I'm like, that's excessive. We don't need that long of a warm up. A good 5 minutes or so on a cardio machine, a stationary bike, an elliptical, even a treadmill, a rower can be really great to get the body moving, to get you warmed up, especially if it's like first thing in the morning. It's good to get your body warmed up. Wintertime, get your body warmed up before you start really going after the strength training. But also that first, couple of exercises that you're doing, you should be doing those as warm-ups to kind of prime the body, remind the body that, oh, okay, we're here, we're going to do squats today, or we're going to do bench, so you get that movement pattern into your system, and you're like, all right, this is what we're doing. And you work your way up into it. So that's part of your warm up as well. But the actual cardiovascular training should come after your strength training. And if you're able to do that in one big session where you do strength training, and then right after that, you go straight into your cardiovascular training, that's great. That is like the most ideal. However, and that's because you're actually going to be, first of all, you use all the energy and the glycogen that you have stored up for your strength training exercises, which is where you want the most effort to go into. That's your bang for your buck. It's going to be the best thing to do is to focus on first strength training, using up the glycogen for those lifts. And then we go into, like, it's a great time. You can do HIIT cardio. Um, I would say no more than twice a week, depending on how intensive you're getting. And when you first start out, I would go once a week, because honestly, strength training is like HIIT cardio. When you're doing, 3 sets of 12 and you're really pushing yourself, that's a kind of near maximal effort right there. And then you take a rest. Well, that's high intensity with a rest interval. So you're kind of already doing that with strength training. But it can also be, HIIT can be a really great way to just like kind of truncate. Like, I don't have 30, 45 minutes to do steady state cardio. I got 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then I got to go. You can definitely incorporate that. That can be very helpful. And it's actually shown to help with strength gains, so long as, again, you're recovering from it properly and you're not overdoing it. But there's enhanced fat oxidation that can happen after a strength training routine when you do the cardio after that. That's because, again, you've used all your glycogen stores over the 30 to 45 minutes that you've been lifting to do the lifts. And now that your body is depleted from that, it's going to start pulling, especially if you're doing like steady state cardio, even with HIIT cardio too, but it's going to start pulling from fat stores. And the reason why steady state cardio is so great is that it's not pulling too much from, there's the anabolic cardio and then aerobic. So you want or not anabolic, aerobic and, anabolic. So we're talking about like the different pathways of how we utilize energy in your metabolism. So when you're at a lower state and your body's able to use oxygen to go through the process, and I'm getting a little, if I'm getting too technical, I'm sorry, but some people want to know the details of it. So like when you're using oxygen at that lower level, that steady state cardio level, what's happening is that your body has time to go grab that, pull it apart, use it as energy. When we're in really high states, you need quicker energy. And that's where the glucose comes in. That's where the glycogen stores come in. All right. That's what we need for strength training because it's fast and you don't have time for that oxygen pathway to catch up. So we burn through that pretty quickly. So the more that we um, encourage that, the more that your muscles will actually store up those things. They'll have more ATP, they'll have more of the little powerhouses in there, and it will help them to look fuller and everything as well. So it's where hypertrophy comes from, one of the aspects of it. So when you are doing that steady state cardio, that's how that fat oxidation process works. So if you're, redlining your your heart rate the whole time, just think about where that energy is coming from. Just physiologically, we don't have the ability to pull it from fat when we're working super, super hard and like, like the Orange Theory thing, when you just redline yourself the whole time. You can do that every now and again, and I think it's a good thing to do when you've worked up to that. But all the time, it's not really going to work because what you're doing is actually pulling from your glycogen stores. And then if you overdo that system, it's going to actually start breaking down your muscle. So that's where like steady state cardio actually does have a place. It can be very, very helpful. And it's a great time to just, I don't know, watch your favorite show. That's a great excuse to binge watch some Netflix, right? All right. Okay, so let's say that you do not have time to do a strength training session and then cardio right afterwards. You're busy, and you just don't have time to do that. I'm in that boat. If I were to do that, my morning routine would be like 2 hours long just in the gym, and I do not have time for that. So another thing that you can do is separate cardio sessions. So whether that's, and definitely always recommend prioritize strength training first. Whatever strength training that you are doing right now, even if it's just body weight, yoga, that type of thing, or if you're actually lifting in a gym, all of that is strength training, even if it's just body weight. Prioritize that, and then maybe you can do it later in the day. You can go back and do your cardio, whether that's walking, jogging, any type of, HIIT cardio session or anything like that. Another option is just to do it on a separate day entirely, and you can do this fasted. And I don't typically recommend fasted like anything, but with a short cardio session, I'm talking 45 minutes or less, you can do it fasted. And you're doing anything more than that, I really don't recommend that because you can start to get into that issue of like now you're depleting your body too much and it could start breaking down your muscle. But also kind of depends on like, other factors going into that. So everyone's a little bit different, but in general, I do not recommend that we do fasted cardio that's going to be longer than 45 minutes or really high intensity because your body needs the fuel so that it knows that it's okay. We can burn some fat because we have energy coming in to deal with this demand on us. So, okay. Oh, and one more note there. So I knew I put it in here somewhere. So 150 minutes, moderate intensity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity per week spread out. And again, whatever schedule works for you. Okay, so this is an example of a moderate intensity cardio split. So let's say on Monday, you have 30 minutes of brisk walking or jogging. Wednesday, do 30 minutes of cycling. Friday, 30 minutes of elliptical trainer or swimming. And then Sunday, 30 minutes of hiking or stair climbing. Okay, and then let's say you want a vigorous intensity cardio split. So Tuesday, 25 minutes, high intensity workout, like sprint intervals, or you can do that even on an elliptical. You don't have to actually sprint, beat up your joints like that. Thursday, 25 minutes of jump rope or intense aerobic work. I mean, there's lots of like Tabatas and things like that out there that we can do. Saturday, you can do 25 minutes of cycling at a challenging pace, or you could go out for a run at a faster speed. Those are just some examples. Okay. Next time we're going to get into the basic recovery principles. Super, super important to make sure that we are recovering properly, so that we can continue to train. I am going to, where are we at? Okay. And that is all I have for you today. Like I said, I'm working on a guide on how to basically program in your exercise routine in a way that's sustainable for you. That's a real struggle that people have a hard time finding the time. Tell you right now, one of my tips is I schedule it in. It's like an appointment. Like I wouldn't break an appointment with one of you guys unless I absolutely had to, and I got to be on time. Then, the same thing with training. So put it on your schedule. I put an alarm on my phone and I make sure that it's a priority. But there'll be a lot more tips in the actual guide that I'm putting together this weekend. I will drop that in this thing in this module. And I'll put an announcement through the chat. And then I'm also going to put that on the Facebook group for anybody who is in there. And if you're not in the Facebook group, let me know and we will get you the link to get you in there. It's a free group, and it's just for everybody within anti-gravity or anyone who's interested in anti-gravity, even ones who are not clients yet, that I just started. I'm trying to increase the engagement there. So if there are no questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, wonderful. Well, again, if you ever think of anything, any questions or concerns, I am always here to help you. And I love actually hearing what you're struggling with because that gives me ideas of how I can help you. So I love it. I want to hear about it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time and I will be seeing you